Are you not able to lose weight no matter how many diets you've tried or how much you exercised? In this video, I'll reveal 11 surprising reasons why you can't lose weight no matter how hard you try. It seems like dieting is our new national pastime, with the CDC estimating that over 40% of Americans are obese, and overall, over 70% of Americans are either overweight or obese. And we saw that obesity was one of the strongest risk factors for bad outcomes during the recent pandemic. These numbers aren't surprising since it's estimated that 88% of Americans are metabolically disturbed, meaning that they either have diabetes, prediabetes, or at risk of developing diabetes. Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Park, ENT surgeon and sleep doctor, and author of the Amazon bestseller, Sleep Interrupted. Sometime last year, I saw a middle-aged woman named Wendy who came to see me for sinus infections. She was having severe right-sided facial pain, puffy eyes, stuffy nose, and a pounding headache along with nausea. She had already taken multiple courses of antibiotics given to her by other doctors, and it kept coming back every few weeks. She also had trouble staying asleep and kept waking up to go to the bathroom. She was about 50 pounds overweight, but this wasn't her main problem. She was always overweight, but she gained a lot more after starting at her new job about 2 years ago. After I listened to her story and did a thorough exam, I told her that she didn't have a sinus infection, but rather a sinus migraine, and that it was related to her poor sleep and her poor breathing. She initially didn't believe me and was adamant that I give her more antibiotics. And she was upset at me because I refused. I took a lot of time to explain that we needed to take care of what's causing her sinus migraines, which can feel like an infection, rather than just covering it up with more antibiotics. She became interested in what I had to say when I told her that I could help her with her sleep and nighttime urination issues as well. I gave her a prescription nasal allergy spray just to give her something for her nose and sinuses. But the more powerful prescription wasn't a pill, but 3 simple lifestyle changes. First, she was only sleeping 5 to 6 hours every night. She stayed up using her iPad in bed and had trouble falling asleep. She also came home late at night after work, so she had to eat dinner just before bedtime. First, I had her eat dinner much earlier, about 3 hours before she went to bed. She shifted her work schedule to be able to come home earlier to cook dinner and eat earlier. We also talked for a few minutes about making some simple changes to her dietary regimen, especially to curb her constant cravings for snacks. I also had her stop using her iPad or any device before bedtime, since blue light from the screens lowers the sleep hormone melatonin. Because she was able to fall asleep faster, now on an empty stomach, she was getting about 7 hours every night. Not perfect, but much better. In 2 weeks, she called to tell me that her sinus was feeling much better, and she was sleeping a bit better and wasn't getting up to go to the bathroom anymore. She was thankful. On the follow-up visit 3 months later, she looked like a different person. Her eyes weren't puffy anymore, and she was about 20 to 25 pounds lighter. Her sinus migraines were completely gone. As you may already know, there are probably thousands of books, articles, videos, blogs, podcasts, and other opinions on what you can do to lose weight. The most common reasons I've seen for not being able to lose weight successfully include the following: too much sugar, too much carbohydrates, eating too much, not enough exercise or physical activity, not drinking enough water, eating too much fat, lack of mental willpower, bad genes, insulin resistance, vitamins or mineral deficiencies, hormonal imbalance, toxins. While some of these points have some truth to them, some have been found to be plain wrong when it comes to weight loss. For example, it's been shown that while exercise is important for your overall heart health, it does very little to help you lose weight. So here are the 11 surprising reasons why you can't lose weight, no matter how hard you try. The first one is because you're eating a low-fat diet. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings that began in the 1970s and early 80s when the USDA, or the US Department of Agriculture, promoted food guidelines that recommended lowering total fat intake, especially saturated fats. This is also when the food pyramid guidelines were created a few years later, which demoted red meat and promoted lots more fruits and vegetables, especially grains, which contain a lot more carbohydrates. And here's one interesting statistic. Dr. Jason Fung estimates that the change from butter to margarine led to about 100,000 heart attacks every year in the US. There are a lot of other pieces to this puzzle and how this happened, but essentially, it started the low-fat movement and cholesterol was demonized. It's important to note that a low-fat diet won't help you to lose weight, and in fact, it can actually cause more weight gain since sugar and other carbohydrates had to be added to make low-fat foods taste better. Here's a graph of the obesity epidemic in the US up to just beyond 2010. There's a lot more nuance and disturbing history on this topic, and I'll place links to some books that are helpful below. Also, without adequate amounts of fat in your meals, you'll get hungrier much earlier, which will lead to more snacking. In most cases, snacks will include carbohydrates or sugar-filled foods. This is what then led to some experts' recommendation to snack more often. More recent high-quality prospective studies show either no difference between meat and non-meat eaters for heart disease and longevity, or better outcomes for meat eaters. Most of the older studies were retrospective and lumped meat eaters with processed, hormone, and antibiotic-laden meats, as well as with other bad personal habits. And here's one recent study showing the benefits of eating grass-fed and finished cows over conventional meat. And this is a major study published in The Lancet in 2015, which should have been the last nail in the coffin of this debate. This is a meta-analysis of 53 prospective randomized controlled trials looking at low-fat diets versus other diets. There were over 68,000 patients in 18 countries with at least 1 year follow-up. This showed that higher fat diets were better at weight loss, even at only a 5% higher fat content. Higher carbohydrates intake was associated with a higher risk of dying, and the reverse for higher fat intake with a lower risk of dying. There's an interesting finding that total fat and types of fat were not associated with heart disease and heart attacks. And lastly, saturated fat had an inverse relation to risk of stroke. So saturated fat was protective against stroke. So did this study nail the coffin closed completely? Not really. It's widely known that these guidelines were and still is heavily influenced by the processed food and beverage industries. If you look at the messaging by the most influential health advocacy organizations, as well as the government, they're still pushing low-fat, low-cholesterol, and carbohydrate-rich foods. I wonder why. Number 2 is that you're eating too much processed vegetable seed oils. McDonald's used to use beef fat for their fries until 1990, when they changed over to sunflower and rapeseed oil due to all the concerns about saturated fat. In 2021, last year, they added natural beef flavoring to their fries to replicate what it used to taste like using beef fat. So because of this change, McDonald's fries are not vegan anymore. Actually, this transition from traditional saturated fats to highly processed polyunsaturated vegetable oils started many decades earlier due to a number of historical factors. One major milestone was in 1911 when Procter & Gamble heavily promoted Crisco, which is made from waste products from the cotton industry, and the US government propping up peanut oil for use during World War II. And then this very important event in 1961. At that time, the fledgling American Heart Association received $1.7 million from Procter & Gamble, and they started promoting vegetable oils over saturated fats such as butter, tallow, and lard. To this day, the American Heart Association is still recommending limiting saturated fats despite tons of evidence. Long term, it's been shown that eating vegetable oils worsens your chances of heart attack and early death. I'll place links to some studies showing the dangers of limiting saturated fats in your diet. And here's an interesting fact from Dr. Chris Knobe. He argues that total saturated fat and macronutrient content doesn't make a difference with heart disease as long as your omega-6-to-3 ratio is about 1 and not greater than 10. Number 3, you're eating foods with the words low calorie, 0 calorie, reduced, skim, low or zero fat, diet, or heart healthy. If you had to add back vitamins, minerals, or fiber, then it's not healthy because the food's been processed too much. That's why you should try to limit or eliminate foods that come in packaging with nutrition labels. Number 4, you're watching too much media. This includes any type of screen activity from your cell phone to your TV, laptop, or your computer. It's not only the time you spend on these devices, but most of the content that you consume will be negative and anxiety-provoking. Remember, they're not creating great content for free. The main point of media is to have you buy something, and many of these commercials are related to food, beverages, or medications. In most cases, it's not going to be healthy. They talk about intermittent fasting to lose weight, so I recommend using the same concept for media in general. Set aside time to cut out media entirely, including music, since that will usually involve a device. Use this time to do an activity, exercise, play an instrument, sing, or do something creative. Create new thoughts, ideas, or music on your own when you have this quiet time, rather than being told what to think or buy. There's no doubt that watching media, especially the news, will make you more stressed or worried, not to mention being more hungry. Number 5, you're drinking too many bottled, canned, or prepared drinks, including juices, sodas, diet drinks, coffee, and alcohol. Drink filtered water that you filter. You will save lots of money as well. Soda consumption is down now, but about half of adults are still drinking at least 1 can a day, and some are drinking many more. And there are some studies that show that diet drinks are linked to more weight gain. This is an endless topic to cover in detail, especially with high fructose corn syrup in most of these drinks, as well as the dangers of most of the sugar substitutes, including a higher risk of stroke. And we also have the sugary drinks called juice and formula that our young children consume. For infants, breast milk is best, and for children and adults, just drink water. But number 6, don't drink plain tap water, since most tap water is heavily contaminated with pollutants and chemicals. The most important one I want to stress is fluoride, since it can cause weight gain due to blocking iodine. You can either buy water or use filtered water. If you buy water, do your research online and make sure that your water company's water doesn't have fluoride. I think a better way and more economical way in the long run is to drink filtered water. However, the typical pitcher filters such as Brita or Pure can't filter fluoride. There may be some other pitchers that can do this, but you have to do some research. You can also get a reverse osmosis system to install under your sink as your main source of drinking water, or if you're willing, a whole house reverse osmosis system. You can also distill your water as well. It's important to remember that these two latter options will strip out all the important minerals, so you have to add it back somehow. And just a quick note about needing fluoride to prevent cavities in your teeth. I won't go into this issue in much detail except to say that placing fluoride in a water supply was as bad as recommending a low-fat diet. Most of the European countries have banned fluoride, and they have no worse rate of cavities. Plus, there are lots of documented studies on the neurotoxic and IQ-lowering properties of fluoride, including high concentrations found in calcified pineal glands, which is the area in the brain with lowered levels of the sleep hormone melatonin. Number 7, you probably exercise too much. It's generally accepted that regular exercise and physical activity is important for good health, but just like in the Goldilocks story, it can't be too little or too much. It has to be just right. For example, here's a study from the American College of Cardiology in 2015 showing that compared to sedentary non-joggers, subjects who are light joggers had significantly much lower overall death rates with a hazard ratio of 0.22 relative to the 1.0 for the sedentary group who were the controls. Light jogging was described as running a slow pace around 5 miles per hour, 2 to 3 times a week for no more than 2.5 hours total. Strenuous joggers ran 7 miles per hour or faster for more than 4 hours per week, or more than 2.5 hours per week and more than 3 runs per week. Compared with the sedentary subjects, strenuous runners' overall death rates were no different in the initial analysis, but when adjusted for alcohol, education, and diabetes, here below, it was almost twice the death rate at 1.9. They go on to cite other statistics showing that sudden cardiac death is almost 4 times higher in marathons compared with half marathons. They speculate that long-term endurance exercise may cause damage to the heart and large arteries. Other studies show earlier death in long-term marathoners may link to the possibility that many marathoners use ibuprofen, which has been shown to raise your risk of heart attack or stroke. And one last comment about exercise. If you look at the blue zones, which are these pockets throughout the world where people live the longest, one thing that they all had was regular exercise, but not by jogging or working out at the gym. They all walked a lot, did manual labor outdoors, and did a lot of gardening. You don't need a gym membership to live a long and healthy life. Number 8, you snack too often. There's been a trend by many experts to recommend snacking often between meals to prevent hypoglycemia. And diabetics are told to snack before bedtime to prevent hyperglycemia. Entire food industries were created to satisfy your hunger pains and cravings in between meals. This problem likely started as you went to a low-fat diet. Since eating fat and protein is very satiating, whereas a carbohydrate-rich meal will give you a quick glucose and insulin spike, making you hungry much quicker. More up-to-date research has shown that you want to minimize the insulin spikes throughout the day, since this can lead to diabetes. There are countless studies showing that snacking in general is associated with more weight gain. Ideally, you should be able to go between meals without snacking, and definitely no snacking before bedtime, since that's more likely to cause acid reflux and apneas at night. This will raise your stress hormones, which will increase glucose even more, and poor sleep leads to more weight gain. And here's one example of problems caused by the low-fat craze. In 1992, Nabisco introduced Snackwell, a fat-free cookie, and it was a hit. Later, it was blamed as adding to the obesity epidemic due to its high carbohydrate content. Number 9, this is a big problem here in the US. Many Americans in general are vitamin D deficient. Recent studies have shown that the average vitamin D level is in the mid-20s. 30 is the bare minimum level to prevent rickets. But it's been shown that you need to be at least above 50 or even 60 to have all the health benefits of vitamin D, including preventing heart disease, depression, cancer, osteoporosis, digestive problems, autoimmune conditions, and dementia. And you may have guessed by now that it's strongly involved in helping you to keep your weight down. In fact, it's not really a vitamin, it's a hormone. And the best way to get it is by being exposed to sunlight. With the combination of low-fat, low animal fat diet and doctors telling you to stay out of the sun, and using sunscreen religiously, our levels of vitamin D plummeted. Here's a systematic review and meta-analysis showing that the obese had significantly lower vitamin D levels. So the key point here is that vitamin D is important in every system of your body, just like your thyroid hormone. Number 10, your elevated stress levels. This is a huge problem for most people who are trying to lose weight on multiple different levels. It's been said that 90 to 95% of all illnesses is related to stress. When you hear the word stress, you think about anxiety or worries about relationships, at work, or about school. So that's mostly psychological or emotional stress. Then you also have physical stress, such as if you're in physical danger or training for a marathon. And lastly, you have physiologic stress, which can come from thousands of different reasons, even down to the cellular level. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, in his book Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, talks about how your body reacts to any kind of stress. He actually gives a humorous account of Dr. Hans Sayu's experiments that led to him describing what's now called the fight or flight response. He points out that there are good stresses, like if you're running away from a tiger. This probably saved many people's lives hundreds of years ago. But now as we live in more modern societies, we have much smaller degrees of stress, but stacked up to much higher levels overall, and for much longer periods of time, sometimes never ending. It's a chronic form of physiologic stress that's thought to cause diseases. Physiologic stress causes your stress hormones like cortisol to stay higher, which raises your glucose and insulin levels. If this continues, it promotes weight gain or makes it hard to lose weight. You're also going to crave sugary, starchy foods to eat as well, all the time. Number 11, I believe that this is the biggest problem that's not being addressed by most doctors: untreated sleep breathing problems. The end extreme of this condition is called obstructive sleep apnea, where you stop breathing at least 5 times every hour while sleeping for at least 10 seconds or longer for each episode. Untreated, obstructive sleep apnea can lead to high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack, stroke, as well as depression, dementia, sexual dysfunction, or even liver and kidney damage. Even when it's picked up by doctors, it's rarely addressed fully, and many people don't feel any benefits even after being treated with pressure machines, dental devices, or even after surgery. I talk about why this happens on my blog at drstephenpark.com and what you can do about it. Now, there's an additional huge category of people who don't breathe well during sleep, but don't obviously meet the criteria for obstructive sleep apnea. So for example, if you underwent a sleep study and stopped breathing 25 times every hour, but only for 8 to 9 seconds each, then officially you don't have sleep apnea. So you won't qualify for any treatment. This is called upper airway resistance syndrome, and I talk about this in much more detail in my book, my blog, podcast, and other videos as well. Whenever you have breathing pauses, regardless of how long it is, your brain wakes up from deep to light sleep. This sleep fragmentation leads to a stress response and unrefreshing sleep, daytime fatigue, lack of energy, and many other symptoms. If your breathing pauses go on for more than 10 seconds during an apnea, even up to 40 or 50 seconds, then your oxygen levels can drop to dangerous levels, and this is what can lead to heart disease over many years. Oftentimes, these breathing problems during sleep is what may be preventing you from losing weight, especially if you have obstructive sleep apnea. Surprisingly, people with UARS or upper airway resistance syndrome tend to be on the thin side and have low blood pressure. So if you're struggling with losing weight despite doing all the right things, go see a sleep doctor to get screened for sleep apnea. And one word of caution: if you're found to have sleep apnea and are placed on CPAP or continuous positive airway pressure, you may sleep much better but start to put on more weight. I covered this issue in a past video, which I'll link to below. So what can you do? Number 1, minimize eating any processed food or chemicals in a box or plastic packaging. Number 2, be skeptical of anything that says it's heart healthy or any other health claim. Number 3, buy only single ingredient natural organic foods, which are typically found in the periphery of the supermarket or at farmers markets without any nutrition labels. Number 4, avoid sugar as much as possible. Minimize sugar substitutes, even healthy ones. Number 5, avoid anything with the words low calorie, low fat, reduced, zero fat, zero calorie, diet, sugar-free, high fiber, or whole grain. All of these words imply that it was highly processed or refined. Number 6, don't stress too much about the macronutrient proportions. If you eat natural foods, your body will adjust. Remember what I mentioned about Dr. Kanobi's findings in the study of people measuring their omega-6 to 3 ratios and the rates of heart disease. It really didn't matter what your macronutrient ratio was, as long as the omega-6 to 3 ratio was 1 to 2 and not over 10. Number 7, get lots more sunlight for vitamin D production. Most people living in higher or lower latitudes will need supplementation. Shoot for vitamin D levels above 60. Try to get more near-infrared radiation light, which you can get from natural sunlight in the early morning and late afternoon hours, to make a powerful antioxidant in your mitochondria called melatonin. Number 8, prioritize sleep. Follow all the sleep hygiene recommendations. If you snore, go see a sleep doctor. And even if you don't snore, but if you don't sleep well, get tested for sleep apnea or upper airway resistance syndrome. Number 9, don't be fooled into thinking that red meat is bad. Don't be scared of saturated fat or cholesterol. Low cholesterol is linked with higher death rates. Your body and your brain needs cholesterol to work properly, as well as to make enough of your sex hormones. Number 10, control your stress. Work on improving your personal relationships. Get help for traumatic events in your past life. If you suffered from trauma in your life, there's a really helpful book called The Body Keeps Score. I highly recommend it over prescription medications, many of which can cause you to put on more weight. And last, number 11, cut down your time frames in the window of eating. This is called intermittent fasting. You can read about this on your own since there are many variations. Once you add more healthy fats to your meals, you won't need to snack as often. This way, there's no need to limit total calories. I hope you found this video helpful. Please subscribe to my channel and press that thumbs up icon. If you've struggled with multiple diet plans or fitness regimens and still can't seem to lose weight, please take a look at my 90-day sleep diet course. Everything I mentioned in this video is a small fraction of what I cover in this course. It's the only weight loss program that incorporates my sleep breathing paradigm to more fully optimize your ability to breathe better, lose weight, and sleep great. Click on the link below to find out how you can get $30 off, but only for a limited time.